Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Let me promote you.
Okay.
Oh, that shows I did. That's weird.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm able to unmute myself and I see the Q&A.
Okay. Perfect. I am having a hard time hearing you, but that's me. Never mind.
I can't see the participants list though, so I can't see how many people are attending.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't have the option to make you a co-host, which is weird.
I'll just be answering questions in the Q&A, but if I could see that, that'd be great.
Hide non-video participants. No. Maybe that's it. I had to do that first, and then we'll get you set up. There we go. So in the future, we have to make a participant a panelist before you can be a co-host. I did not know that.
And I think Erica and Rob will be joining us, probably closer to the start.
Okay. And then we'll go live on the TDI YouTube page. I'll do that.
Sounds good.
And then I don't have anything I need to hop off for, so I'll sign out of that when we're done. Are you guys as crazy as we are these days? It's like,
yeah, there's a lot of going on right now.
There's a whole lot going on. Insane. All right, I'm gonna mute myself. If you need anything, just holler.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I'm not able to share video right now. I don't know if we want to do that or not.
Let me promote you. Hi, Rob.
I promoted Rob and Erica to panelists.
Okay, great.
Ha!
Hello.
Everyone else looks very fancy in their photos, and I have my little avatar. I don't know how
I love
Zoom
it.
got a hold of that, but did I add it to Zoom at some point? I don't know if I did, or if it's just finding it on the internet.
It's very retro.
And not just because it's probably 15 years old by now.
Ah,
I was from grad school at some point. I made
how
that.
fun.
From a picture of me that was taken all the way across the room. So that's all the pixels that were in it.
Well, I'm going to keep my camera off, but I will be in the Q&A section answering questions, and then I'll flag the ones that will be for you guys to answer.
Okay, I'll get
And they'll
that
go
open
into,
here.
yeah, they'll go into a different, I forget how it works. I think they stay in the open section and they'll be marked as answer live, and then I can remove them once you guys.
Okay.
So don't worry about the Q&A until it actually, you open it up to questions. I'll be in there answering.
And Erica, are you sharing your screen for the presentation?
I don't know if Erica's there.
Let me just double check that my screen share is working. Does that show Jupyter Hub there for you?
Yes.
Okay. I'll see you in just a few minutes.
Hi guys, sorry.
Hi there.
Can
No
you-
worries.
Okay. Hey, quick question, Sarah. Since I haven't done the Zoom webinar, am I just sharing my screen like we normally do, or?
Yeah, you can just share your screen like usual.
Do you want to try it
Okay.
now?
You're frozen on oh, there you go.
Yeah. Let me do a little test. All right, you guys see that?
Yes. In like editor. Yep, there we go.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Is that the first slide? Okay, let me put on the first slide.
Okay, great. Thanks, Joanna.
Okay, cool. So we'll get started in a couple minutes. Rob, do you know what you're talking about and everything's good on that end?
He did do like a video check and stuff. So I don't know what you guys were confirming, but here we go.
And Eric, I don't know if it's on just my end, but it seems like your audio is a little bit distorted and you're freezing. Maybe it's my connection. I don't know if anyone else is seeing that.
I had a little freeze with Erica.
Hold on just a second.
Hey, Erica, when you're ready, let me know. And then it does take like a minute or two to go live. So I'd like to go live right before you start. So just give me like a 2-minute window and then I'll let you know once we're live on YouTube and then you can start.
Okay, you got it. Okay, I plugged in. Let's see if the internet's a little bit better on that end. Can you guys see me and hear me okay?
You sound better.
Okay, perfect.
And I let Rob know I'll answer the questions in the Q&A, and the ones that I'm leaving for you guys to answer, they can flag them as answered live and they'll stay in the open queue, and the other ones will move over.
Okay.
And I have some canned questions too, just in case we don't get a ton.
Okay, thank you. I think, Sarah, if you want to go ahead and go live and we can, because I think everybody will start getting the invites at 5. So we'll start hopefully seeing
Perfect.
people trickle in.
Okay, will do.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll be live in about 5 seconds.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our part-time info session at the Data Incubator. I'm going to give a minute or two to let everybody trickle in, but welcome. We will get started in a minute or so. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Rob, you thumbs up, you can see my screen.
I think we're good to go, Erica.
All right. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I think we'll still probably have some people trickling in, but I want to make sure that we make use of our time with you guys. So first, I want to welcome you to the Data Incubator info session. Like I said, we're going to be focusing on our very brand new part-time program. My name is Erica Underwood, and I am the director here. And we are a fellowship, scholarship, and placement company. So we have an excellent info session. I'm here. I'm going to be walking you through kind of the ops side of our program. And then we have our lead instructor, Rob, who will be talking to you a little bit about our part-time curriculum and what you can expect in our part-time course. So I'm going to start off and give you guys a quick overview of the program and everything that we offer. And then at the end of all of this, we're going to open it up to any questions you guys have. So you can put those in the Q&A section or the chat section, and we will make sure to get to those at the end of the presentation. If we run out of time, or if your question doesn't get asked, or you don't feel comfortable answering your question, we would be happy to answer your questions. You can always reach us at admissions@thedataincubator.com. So keep that in mind as well. But let's go ahead and kick things off. Okay, so the Data Incubator focuses on training people to become data scientists. I think you all probably know why that's important, but let's just go over why that is important. Data scientists have the ability to work with the latest tools on unstructured and structured data to drive business value. And especially in this day and age, that is very important and very highly sought after. This is a big need in the world right now, and we work with a ton of companies and a lot of different industries, all ranging from tech to finance to retail to healthcare. They all have data, and they all want someone to help them use it and use it in a way that helps either make them money or save them money. So that is why data science is super important. So what makes us different from other programs out there? What we found is when you're looking at training, there are two different types. There is obviously a fast-paced, efficient training and a slower, more focused training where you're really trying to comprehend and understand what's going on. University is one example where you're going to receive a more detailed understanding of a concept, but a lot more time is going to be invested in that. Whereas, let's say, on the job training is very quick and efficient, but maybe you don't have a full grasp of what you're doing or kind of what's underneath just the functions that you're doing. And so that's where we come into play. We've taken these aspects and combined them together to find a great middle ground for our training. It's fast paced, and you walk out of this program knowing a lot about data science and the real world applications of it, but also hopefully with a deeper understanding that you would find in a university of why, not only how to do things, but why you're doing things and how to set it up in a way that is conducive for you going forward. All of our instructors and are PhD and master's holders and have completed this program and know how to provide you this in-depth training that you're looking for, and are excellent resources for you guys. So a little bit just about our fellowship program in general is that it is very intense. It's not your average program, although the part-time program is going to ease up on that a bit. So you're going to have a little bit more flexibility with the scheduling of things, but it is a fast-paced curriculum, but it's very thorough. So basically, we have different modules that Rob's going to walk you through that focus on a different aspect of data science, a tool or an approach to data science that you're going to want to use in your in a data science position. So in addition to lectures, students are going to participate in what we call mini projects, which is hands-on practice to applying what you're learning that week. We really believe in fostering an interactive learning environment. So each module is going to kind of be focused on these mini projects that are associated with one main topic or one or two main topics. As I said, Rob's going to kind of talk you through the details of those topics and that schedule. But our program is also very collaborative. So we want students to not only work with their colleagues and instructors, but we also give you the opportunity to work with our hiring partners in presenting projects and data to them. Part of our program is working on a capstone project that you'll have, as I mentioned, the opportunity to present to our hiring partner network, which is a great opportunity. You'll, throughout the course, get feedback on how to present, how to create a capstone with a clear business objective. And ultimately, that capstone project is going to be a really great portfolio piece to add when you're interviewing with companies, whether in our hiring partner network or outside of it. Our program is very forward thinking. We have career coaches that help you with the career aspect of becoming a data scientist. So not only are you going to learn how to become a data scientist, but we're going to help you, hopefully give you tools that get you a job in that field. We're going to set you up with a resume writer that's going to give you a beautiful, polished, data science forward resume and cover letter. We're going to help you with interview skills and negotiating skills and all of those kind of soft skills that come into play when you're looking to either transfer jobs, find a new job, or get your first job. To help our students connect with our hiring partners, we also host several virtual networking events. I mentioned the Capstone presentation, but we also do partner panels where companies come in and they talk about what it looks like to work at this company, what you can expect in that role. And it's just a really great way for you guys to get an understanding of what is out there and hopefully pique your interest and give you more insight on what you can expect if you were to get hired for that role. And again, just a great networking resource for all of our students. So that's an overview of our program in general. This is for our full-time and part-time. All of this is very true. But now I know you guys are all here to focus on the part-time. So let's walk you through kind of the more detailed curriculum and schedule that are associated only with our part-time program. And for that, I'm going to flip it over to Rob to go and talk about that.
Great, thanks. If you just want to put up next slide for me, I can talk off of your screen for now. Yes, so as Erica mentioned, we've been teaching this in a full-time, extraordinarily intense environment for a while. And we're excited to be able to offer an expansion of that, to let you go through it at a slightly slower pace and do something where you don't have to devote every waking hour, or at least most of your waking hours, to the fellowship program. So this is the part-time program, and we've decided that we think we can get through it in a sensible pace in about a 20-week period. So this one we're starting here is going to start in April, and it'll go through most of August. And with that, we'll be meeting twice per week. So every evening, every Monday and Thursday evening, we've scheduled time from 7 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, which we hope is late enough in the day for people all over the US to be able to make these meetings. So this period is going to be taken and divided into two pieces. There will be about 90-minute lecture during each of these, where we'll cover the topics for that day, and then roughly an hour of discussion or office hours or exercise time. And that will vary a little bit day to day as we figure out exactly what we need to be talking about. In addition to that main scheduled time, there will also be some time where you can meet in a smaller group with the instructor. This will happen probably every other week, and we will determine exactly when we want this to happen based on your availability. So the first week, we will be discussing finding when people are available, putting you into these smaller groups, and then scheduling a recurring meeting so that we can make sure we're talking with you in a smaller group. The main point of these small groups will be to make sure that you're making progress on your capstone project, but more on that in just a bit. Our estimate is that you'll have about 10 hours of work outside of this lecture period and the other meeting periods every week. Obviously, that's going to vary quite a lot based on your familiarity with the topics that we're covering at that point. If we're doing something you haven't seen before, you're probably going to need more than those 10 hours. But if we're covering a topic that you're already fairly familiar with, maybe you don't need quite that full 10 hours that week. But you should count on at least, on average, using those 10 hours every week to work on things outside of lecture. And some of those technical subjects will be these mini projects. They were mentioned before. Roughly speaking, every 3 weeks, you'll get a new mini project. It varies a little bit based on how quickly we move through lecture material. But about every 3 weeks, you'll be getting a new mini project. This is a project that we've prepared, and your goal is to answer some questions about real world data based on this information that we provide. And we think that real world part is very important. These are data sources taken from real life. They are not cleaned up. They are not polished. You need to use common sense and intuition and some heuristic guesses at times to solve those. And whenever I talk to any of our hiring partners, this is the thing that they're most excited about, that people coming out of the data incubator know how to do more than just solve a problem that someone has set up for them. They're able to take real world data and drive insight from it. The other thing you work on, we mentioned this Capstone project. That is something that you have to design. If you've gone through the challenge already, you know that we ask you to give us a project as part of the challenge. If you haven't gone through the challenge, spoiler alert, we're going to ask you to propose a project at that time. And while you can switch from the application to the program, it's great if you have something ready for the beginning of the program so you can hit the ground running. And I think in the part-time program, you actually get a fairly nice advantage with this in that you don't have to do all this capstone work in 8 weeks. Instead, you have 20 weeks to spread out, to think a little bit more, to spend some more time finding, preparing, cleaning data. I think you will actually perhaps have an easier time preparing a fantastic capstone project in this slightly longer time. But you get the same qualifications, the same certification at the end of this program as you would from the full-time. And that's because we cover the same curriculum. So Erica, if you would advance the next slide, please. This is the outline of the curriculum. It is the same topics that we cover in the full-time fellowship. In the full-time fellowship, we do about one of these per week. So that means 5 lectures per week. When we change that into the part-time program, well, those 5 lectures turn into about 2.5 weeks of part-time. And in fact, things will shift a little bit because they don't actually fit nicely into those 1-week things when we do it in person. I'm sorry, full-time. They're also not going to fit nicely into these, but this is a rough outline of what we expect to cover and the timescales that we expect to cover it. So we're going to start off talking about data wrangling, which is just that process of gathering, cleaning, preparing data, and starting your analysis. We talk about machine learning. In fact, you notice machine learning is split into several different sections. It's a major part of data science. And we want to keep coming back to this as you get more advanced with other subjects to keep reminding you. So we'll do some of that early on. We come back to that in advanced machine learning in the middle. And then we end the course talking about TensorFlow. TensorFlow is a deep learning library that helps you build some of these fantastic and impressive deep neural networks. But in between all this talk about machine learning, there's a number of other things we need to cover. So we'll spend some time talking about SQL, as well as some of these other sort of production type tools that I'm sure you're going to end up using. We'll talk about visualization and how you will be able to present and show off the work that you've done in efficient and impressive manners. We also cover Spark. Spark is a distributed computing toolkit, which allows you to take jobs that are too large to run on one computer and run them over a cluster. And Spark is used widely out there today. You're almost definitely going to run into it at a data science job. And that last section that I haven't mentioned before is this thinking beyond the data. A data scientist is not just somebody who can do math and write code. A data scientist is someone who can solve problems that a business has. And we want to make sure we talk about that as well. So we do take some time, about 2 weeks in there, to cover, now that you can do some of these fantastic things, how do you actually do them? Erica, if you stop sharing your screen, I will share mine, and I want to give a little demo of the environment that you'll be learning these things in. Just 1 second. So we provide all students in the program with a server living out in the cloud. And this will be yours for you to use and access throughout the entire 12 weeks of the program. Here I'm showing the front page. It's a system called Jupyter Hub. You can see that I already have my server going, and hopefully it's still working for me. This is a Jupyter Notebook server. And some of you may have used Jupyter Notebooks locally on your own machine, in which case this is pretty similar. But this is a machine living out in the cloud, and it's already been provisioned not only with all the curriculum, but with all the Python packages and tools that you need to use that curriculum. And it's a little bit messy here because this is the one I'm using to teach the current session that we're in right now. You won't have all of these to start off with. But I do want to point out data course here. This is where all the curriculum lives. And you can see we have a folder for each of those modules that we'll go through. So each of those modules I mentioned before, they correspond to one of these folders, and we'll be going through the curriculum within them. Let me just pull into this practical ML. This is our first machine learning folder. And you can see we have all these notebooks. If you haven't seen Jupyter Notebooks, let me just show one off because I think they're pretty cool. Jupyter Notebooks combine code and text and graphics and even audio and interactive tools into a single document. And you will get these notebooks just like I have these notebooks to teach from. And you can run the same code in these notebooks as you are in lecture as I am running as I'm giving lecture. So here we can see where we have the code. We have plots that are coming out of here. There's even these interactive elements down here. So for example, if you want to see what happens as you change the depth of decision tree, we can just drag the slider and see the impact. These notebooks are provided on the server. At the end of the program, you get to keep all of these notebooks. So these become reference material that you can keep and continue to refer to as time goes by. I mentioned that we have these mini projects. These are also on the Jupyter server, and they come with an automated grading system. So I'm just going to show off a very basic mini project. Hopefully everybody can pass this, but just to show you how this works. So it's a little bit of description, a little bit of code, but eventually you're going to have to write some code. So this first one, we're asking for the first 5 prime numbers, and I think these are 5 pretty prime numbers. So I'll define them, and then I can submit it to the grader just by running this code here. And you get immediate feedback from the grader on a score of 0 to 1 of how well you did. So in this case, it's giving me a 0.6 saying, well, you got 3 of the first 5 prime numbers. And if I think about my math a little bit, I realize 1, not actually a prime number. 4, you can like multiply stuff to get 4, but 7 and 11, those are some other pretty prime numbers. If we run that again, now I pass with a 1.0. So you get this immediate feedback from working on these mini projects. And you know if you're on the right track or if you're going in a wrong direction right away. Certainly, you will talk with the instructor about it, but quite often you can answer questions on your own just by checking what the mini project is telling you. That's my brief overview. Please ask questions. I see a bunch are coming in, but I'm going to pass it back to Erica now to finish up the presentation before we take those.
Yes, thank you, Rob. And I'm going to share my screen again. And as Rob mentioned, I'm going to finish doing a quick overview of our program, and then we will open it up for questions. So keep those questions coming in. We will get to those, but let me, in the meantime, finish doing my overview. So hold on just a second, and I will share my screen. All right. Okay, cool. So going back to our program, you might be familiar that in our full-time program, we have two types of students. We have fellows and scholars. The fellows are offered a tuition-free scholarship. We offer a limited number of those to very highly qualified candidates. And the main thing with fellows is that they're expected to leave their current employment to attend our program and are expected to exclusively look and interview within our hiring partner network. Scholars they pay their own tuition to participate in our program, and therefore they have more flexibility and can go outside of our hiring partner network and interview and apply to whatever roles and companies they would like to. So definitely more flexibility on the scholar side. For our part-time program, I want to be clear that fellows are only allowed to participate in our full-time program. We are not doing fellows for our part-time program. And this is really because we want to ensure that the students that are in our program that are available to take jobs right away from our hiring partners. So those are going to be people that are in that full-time program. We also want to make sure that students in our part-time program don't have the stress and the limitations of a fellowship spot that comes with. As I mentioned, that is a bit of a limited career search because you are stuck with our hiring partners. And so we want to make sure that for students that have a part-time schedule, if they have a current job already or they're finishing up an academic program, there's flexibility there for you guys. And so that is the main reason why we are not going to offer fellows spots in the part-time program. So keep that in mind. And I should also just verify that everybody knows that fellows and scholars have access to the same resources. It's going to be the same curriculum, same teachers, same hiring partner network and resources. Nothing is different. We do not differentiate within the program who is who. Again, it just kind of goes back to that job flexibility. And so that's something to keep in mind. A lot of people want to know employment rates. What can you do for us? How can you get us a job? Great. So a big component is that we really pride ourselves in helping you guys make that transition from academia to the private sector in a data science role. And so 97% of our students that go through our program are currently employed outside of academia. And 82% of those students are employed within 6 months of completing our program. So we're pretty proud of these numbers. We've worked really hard for them, and we definitely want to see the success carry on, and we're dedicated to that. A lot of people want to know, what are our graduates doing now? This is just a quick breakdown. There's obviously a lot of different industries, as we've already covered, that touch data science, that work with data science. There's about roughly 55 different industries that our graduates are working in. Some of the most common ones you see up here are computer software, internet, IT, financial services, biotech. But as I mentioned, we also work with a lot of people in retail, insurance, food and beverage, transportation, anything you can think of, we probably touch, and it works with data science to some capacity. And so they need data scientists. So some of the typical job titles that our students are placed in, obviously the most common is data scientist, but we can also place people in data analyst role, research scientist, software developer, product manager, data engineer. These are all roles that our students are getting placed in after they leave our program. Lots of questions about hiring partners that we work with. This is just a small sampling of them. We have a more detailed list we can share with you. If you want to email us at admissions@thedataincubator.com, we'd be happy to share that with you. Some companies have us sign a publicity clause where we can't share their name and information. So as I mentioned, this is just a small sampling of partners that we work with. I'm sure you guys recognize some logos up there. It really varies across industries and locations. So hopefully there's something up there for everybody. Okay, So if you are interested in joining our part-time program, you might want to think about using some kind of financial assistance to help pay for that. And we offer a couple different options for you, especially during times like these. It's hard, and we want to make sure that we give you as many resources as possible to help you guys participate in our program. So the main one is we partnered with Leaf, and they provide an income sharing agreement. And this is really great if you're not used to this concept. Basically, you participate in our program with just a deposit down of $500, and then you aren't required to make any payments towards your income sharing agreement until you've graduated and you're working in a job that pays you more than $40,000 annually. So it's a really great way to do our program, and very low risk. You don't have to make any payments again until you are in a full-time job making $40,000 annually. We also have recently partnered with Skill Fund, and they offer more of your traditional loans, and that is something they can help you. I know that they have a variety of different loans and loan amounts that they can work with you on. And so that is something to keep in mind. And then lastly, I know we have some international students, and so Stilt is a really great lender that specializes in loans for visa holders and non-US citizens. And so that is something that you guys can go and check out, and you could use them as a resource. If you end up using them as a resource, we're happy to provide, and you get into our program, we can provide you an admission letter, kind of helping you with that application with them. I should also say that this was a very, very quick and condensed overview of the financial assistance that we offer. If you apply to our program and you get into our program, we do an open house where we spend a whole half hour covering all of the details and walking you through those application process. So don't worry about this. We just want to let you know that these are available to you, but we will go into more details once you get accepted into the program and help you with that process. So upcoming dates. I'm going to have Sierra put in the chat channel a link to apply. If you guys haven't applied yet, please make sure you do so. Right now, our application is open for our spring cohort, and that is for full-time and part-time. The cohort's going to run from April 5th to May 28th. Looks like I didn't update the part-time, but it's going to end. No, it is. So the part-time will end on August 20th. So that is going to be the difference there. You can see the 8 weeks for the full-time. You're going to be done by the end of May, and that part-time is going to go until August, giving you extra time, as Rob said, to work on those projects and that capstone. The deadline for both full-time and part-time are the same, and the application deadline is this Friday, February 12th. That's next Friday, February 12th. And then the challenge deadline is February 15th. So essentially, the main priority is to get that application in. And then you have 72 hours to complete that application, or complete the challenge that's associated with that. So that is why the challenge deadline is a little bit after the application deadline. So if you guys are interested, make sure you apply. That deadline is quickly approaching. I should say that you can take the challenge at any time. So if you want to make sure you're giving yourself extra time, I always encourage that. We just had a big snowstorm in New York, and my internet's been a little crazy. So don't wait until the last minute. Make sure you guys make this a priority if this is something you're interested in. I also want to mention we're doing something new this time, where if you attended this info session, which you guys are all here, we are doing a priority review on your application. So when you apply to this, whether it's full-time or part-time, when you go and you apply, there's a section that says in the application on page 3, anything else that qualifies you or makes you a good fit for our program. In that section, make sure you mention that you were in this info session, and then you will automatically be put into priority review. Okay, so that is a great little boost that you guys get from attending this info session. Any other questions or concerns you have specifically about your application, or any issues with the application process? As I mentioned, you can always reach us at admissions@thedataincubator.com. We'd be happy to work with you. We have a whole admissions team that can schedule a call with you and help you with any issues that you might be having. And with that, I think that is all we have to present about. So we will move to the Q&A section of it. So I am going to stop sharing my screen and start answering questions.
So it looks like the first question I see is about somebody coming who's very new to data science. Speaking is fun, and only has some limited skills and knowledge. Can you succeed in the fellowship program? And it will be perhaps more tough for you than it might be from someone who's coming in with a lot of these skills. But we are not assuming any particular familiarity with data science before you enter the program. What we do want from you is some experience with programming. It's great if that's in Python, but if you are at least somewhat familiar with other languages, that's usually enough. Before the program starts, we give all of our students what we call the 12-day program. And this is a set of resources that you should be taking a look at before the program starts. It's designed to get everybody on the same page and, well, not quite the same page, but up to speed on the basics that we need so that on day one of the program, you're already ready to go with some of these basics like Python and some basic statistics. So I'd encourage you to go ahead and complete the application. You'll find out more about that in, for example, these info sessions and make sure that it is right for you. But we're not expecting you to be a data scientist already. The program is to make you into one.
Yeah, I see a couple of questions actually about if you're able to transfer from part-time to full-time before the course starts. So I want to start off by saying we want to be understanding. One example was if I lost my job in between that time period, then yes, I would say, we want to be flexible. We want to evaluate on a case by case. I think that the flexibility is really in the application. So if you apply and you have that flexibility until you're admitted in. So once you're admitted in, if you're admitted in as part-time and you decide I'd rather be full-time, then we can easily switch you over. But once payments are starting to be paid, then that is really where we need you to be locked into a decision because that's how we create our class roster. That's how we know what kind of resources to dedicate, how big the class is going to be, and all of those ops stuff. So you have some flexibility up until the time where you have to pay for the course. And then at that, we're really going to kind of force you to pick a path, whether that's full-time or part-time. Rob, I see a question about having a strong background in programming or computer science. Is that required? You might have already answered that with your 12-day.
Yeah, I would say you need some experience programming. You have to be fairly comfortable coming in, be able to write a little bit of computer code. It's great if that code is in Python, but even that is not necessary. Part of the 12-day is getting you up to speed on some of the basics of Python. But if you've never written any computer code in your life, I suspect the fellowship program may be too much for you. You may want to look at some of our other offerings. There's this Data Science Essentials class, which gives a little bit slower introduction to some of these topics. And that might be a better fit if you've never done any programming before. But if you have some experience, please come talk to us. I think we'll be able to get you through the program just fine.
Yeah. Somebody's asking if they cannot attend a lecture, how do we remedy that? Well, we really prefer people to be in our course live. That's where we have the most success. That's where you're going to get the most hands-on instruction from our instructors. That being said, life happens. We're all kind of in COVID right now, working with partners and other people in the house and pets, and it's chaotic. So we understand that. And so we do record all of the sessions. If you are going to miss a session, let us know and we're happy to provide that recording. But for the most part, we really want you to try to be in, I would say, 90% of our classes and group meetings and stuff live, because that's where you're going to get the most out of this course. Rob, somebody's asking, will we be learning Scala?
Yep. So yeah, I see a couple technical questions. I'll see if I can hammer them out here. We do not teach Scala specifically. We teach, as for those of you who don't know, Scala is a programming language that's commonly used with Spark. In fact, it's a language that Spark is written in. but there's a wonderful set of bindings called PySpark that give you all of that same capability in Python. So we teach our Spark curriculum in Python. Scala is available, and if you want to complete the mini project in Scala, that is certainly up to you. But what we find is that most people simply learning Spark by itself is enough of a hurdle. They don't also want to be learning Scala at the same time. That said, I do like Scala. It's a great language. So if you're curious and you're part of the program, I'd love to talk to you about it and give you some pointers that you can get started. And I think the next question also for me, why are we doing TensorFlow and not some of these other things? Well, we actually do teach Keras. Keras, as you may know, is a library that sits on top of several deep learning libraries, including TensorFlow. And in fact, most of our TensorFlow curriculum is showing you the Keras interface to it. And it's widely used, and you should definitely know it. PyTorch is the other very common machine or deep learning module library out there. What we found is that PyTorch is getting a lot of interest in the academic realm, but businesses are by and large using TensorFlow. And it'll be interesting to see how this changes in the next 5 to 10 years as a lot of people leave academia and bring PyTorch into the industry. But at this point, you're more likely to be using TensorFlow in an industry setting. So that's what we are teaching.
Great. The next one is about the fee. So what is the fee for full-time and part-time? Is the full-time program being run part-time now? And in that case, is the fee reduced? So 3 questions into one. The full-time program is the same as the part-time. We've just broken it up to give you guys more time. We've had a lot of applicants that are coming to us that have full-time jobs or are still finishing an academic program. So we wanted to set up an offering that can adhere to those kind of schedules. It's the exact same curriculum, just spread out a little bit more over time. That being said, so it is the same cost. And the cost for both full-time and part-time is $10,000. And then if you guys decide to pay up front and not use a financing option, we do give $1,000 discount for that. So it would be $9,000 if you pay up front and $10,000 if you go with some kind of financing option.
I think the next question is for me about the Capstone project. I believe, do you need to use data set that we provide, or can you choose any public data set? And it's up to you. In fact, we like the projects more when you find a cool data set that we haven't seen before. So I encourage you to look around a little bit, try to find some data set that people maybe haven't explored that much. And you get a lot more interest in your project if you have something novel or something clever that we haven't seen before.
Yeah, I love a good clever capstone. The next one is, how strong is the industry association? Number of hiring partners? Are you only catering to specific domains? No. As I mentioned, we have hiring partners in all types of industries. And we actually have a dedicated team that is specifically working on new hiring partners. So we are bringing in new hiring partners all the time from all across the country, from all different types of industries. I think roughly we are at maybe over 500 hiring partners at this point in time. Something worth mentioning is that, in a perfect world, all 500 are hiring at the same time. But that we're not in a perfect world right now, sadly. So while we have a network of 500, not all of them are hiring at the same time. That being said, the more hiring partners we have, the more likely we are to have a great network that is hiring at a point in time. So we're always increasing that network. We're always looking for new companies to offer opportunities for our participants. Rob, the next one's about a portfolio and the application and how difficult the selection process is. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So there's no specific portfolio we're looking for during the application. If you haven't gone through it yet, the first step is we ask you these generic demographic things. So we want to know schools, degrees, projects, jobs you've had, but we're not asking you to submit anything specifically. Our technical evaluation is more based on the challenge, which will have a couple of sections. One is a programming challenge where you have to write a program to solve a problem. That can be whatever language you like. One is a data challenge where we give you a large amount of data and ask you to analyze it. And then the third part is that capstone proposal. And those are the things we look at to determine your technical ability. So we don't need to see anything else, but obviously if you have a cool project, make sure that shows up in your application so that we see it as we are making these decisions. We absolutely try to take a holistic view of people when they're applying, and we're looking for a reason to admit you. I'll put it that way. So even if you're not strong on this one area, that's okay. If there's something that you are strong on, that's what we're looking for a chance to admit you. I don't have any of the stats, maybe Erica does. It is a selective process, but part of that selection is really just saying, are you willing to do the work to go through all of it? So very few people who start the application actually finish, but those people who actually go through those steps and keep participating, I don't know the exact fraction, but many of those will be admitted. And that actually reflects what we need from you. We're not expecting to come into the program knowing these things, but we are expecting to come into the program and do a lot of work and keep doing that work. So if you can do that on the application, then we trust that you can do it in the class, and we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
I think the next question about data engineering, I should also probably talk about.
Probably.
The role, there's a bunch of roles around data science that you'll find in job listings, from data engineering, data science, data analyst, business analyst, machine learning engineer. None of them are terribly well defined at this point. So really, you should look at what they're actually looking for in the job description, not just go by that title. That said, a data engineer is probably a little more focused on setting up systems and organizing the flow of data as opposed to doing analysis on that data. And the fellowship curriculum is not really focused on that role as much. Now, the data engineer is probably using a lot of Python, a lot of SQL. They definitely need to know something about machine learning, whether they're doing it or they're helping other people do it. They need to know something. So learning these topics in the fellowship will help you if that is your goal to become a data engineer, but the curriculum is not focused specifically on people who want to become a data engineer.
Great. I think the next one I can take is 82% of the people employed after the program from fellows or scholars. That is total. So we don't really look at the breakdown distinction between fellows and scholars. That is total people that graduate our program. What is their placement rate? And it's 82%. So that's what that is. I'm going to skip that next one because I'm looking for the exact details on that. And is it possible to participate in only some of the modules some weeks? Rob, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
No, this is a full integrated program. So you do need to sign up for the full program to participate in the various parts of it. But you should keep an eye on our website because we are in the process of developing additional part-time courses that are focused just on individual topics. I already mentioned this data science essentials class, which is some of the early topics and even topics before the early topics. But we hope to be offering more of these shorter, more focused classes on specific topics. But unfortunately, at this point, you can't do the a la carte option from the fellowship.
Can we edit the application once submitted and before completing the challenge? I believe yes, Rob, but can you confirm?
I don't think you can fix any things in the first part of the application, the demographics. During the challenge, you can update the challenge. Even after the challenge is over, you can still go back and make changes to your proposed capstone. And if there's any major problem there, first of all, if you're invited to an interview, we're happy to make corrections at that point. But if not, or if you want to have that fixed beforehand, probably the thing to do would be to email admissions@thedataincubator.com, and we can go correct any of those things if there's something desperately wrong. As somebody who misspelled his last name on the PSAT, I understand that problem.
Rob, how much statistics should someone know before coming into our program?
My guess is if you've had a college level statistics class at some point in your history, you should be more or less good to go. Well, data science and especially machine learning do use a lot of statistics. You don't need to be a statistics expert to use these tools. But this is part of the 12-day program. We have a little bit of review of some of the more important statistic topics. So as long as you've heard of things like the mean and the median and the standard deviation, with the prep in the 12-day, you should be good enough to go on day one of the fellowship.
Okay, some questions about the priority review. Yeah, so if you haven't applied and you want to apply and you attended this info session, then in the section where on the application we say, what other things would you like us to know about you that would help in our decision, make sure you mention that you attended this info session, and then you will be eligible for a priority review. And that is simply what it means, that your application will be moved to the top of our reviewing. And so it definitely will get you more visibility in that application process than if you don't. So you guys are already here, so I would definitely make sure you add that and include that in your application.
And if someone has already applied, should they email us?
Yep, email us at admissions and we will add that into your application and make note of that. Somebody's asking if the full-time program is online. Yes, all of our programs currently are online right now, just because of COVID and safety, everything, both full-time and part-time are online. Somebody's saying, if I get hired by a hiring partner, will 50% of the tuition get reimbursed for part-time as well? Yes, but only if you pay in cash. If you do any financing options, you're not eligible for that. But if you pay in cash for our program and you get placed with one of our hiring partners, then you do receive 50% of your tuition back. Rob, how deep are mathematical and statistical concepts of data science? Would this program make us ready for algorithm development?
Yeah, I think there's two questions here. And data science does use some pretty deep math and stats to design its algorithms, but to use them, you don't need to understand them fully. I think they're cool to get into, and if you're not careful, I will get into all sorts of details of them during lecture. But to simply use them, you don't need to know all of those details. And for that reason, we try not to focus on those details too much. The point of this program is to get you ready to be a practicing data scientist. And a practicing data scientist is usually not doing very much algorithmic development. Instead, you're using these tools in order to solve real world problems. So that really is the focus of this, is use of data science, not the development of future algorithms.
Great. Let's see. Does the curriculum contain any practice on interviewing questions, including coding questions, system design, soft human questions? I love it. I'll answer this, and then Rob, I'm sure you'll have to chime in here too. But yes, on both levels. So Rob can talk a little bit more about the technical interview preparation. But on the soft human side of things, we do what we call career search sessions, where 30 minutes of that is going to be dedicated to just sharing information. Again, how to do an elevator pitch, how to tell your story, how to answer difficult interviewing questions, all of those kind of nitty gritty. We're going to help give you information about how to tackle those issues. And then after that, we usually have some kind of workshop. So where you might get together in groups and do kind of a group interview, or come up with some, elevator pitches and share those, and what works and what doesn't work. We want to make it as interactive as possible. And so that's how we've kind of set up tackling the soft skills part of it. But Rob, do you want to talk a little bit more about the technical aspect of it?
Yeah, and I'm so glad we got this question, because we really should have had this in the presentation. I like to tell people that you spend half of your time working on mini projects, half of your time working on your capstone project, and half of your time working on the job search process. And I'm well aware of how that math works. But this really is an equal portion to these technical topics that we go through. So there will be times where we practice interviewing, both with an instructor as well as in small groups with each other. And there's also this week, or no longer a week, module that we mentioned, this Thinking Beyond the Data module, which is all about how do I apply my data science concepts to the real world. And this is going to come up both at an actual job, but also in the interview process. I can't promise that you'll always get this, but it's somewhat common that you get a case study in an interview where someone says, here's a problem, tell me how you would solve this. And I think this is actually a great interview question. And if you get this, you should be excited because this lets you show off not that just that you can write code, but that you can write the right code and that you can actually solve real problems. So we focus on that not only because you need it to be a data scientist, but you need it to be hired as a data scientist as well. And that is a fundamental part of the curriculum.
Yeah. I finally found what I was looking for. I wanted to make sure I had it before I answered this question. So somebody asked, what percentage of the salary should be monthly payments for leave if you do that income sharing agreement? And so once you get a job where you're making 40,000 minimum or more a year, then 16% of your gross income will be paid towards leave and towards your income sharing agreement. And again, we'll in the details, there's a couple caps set up into place where you will either hit a set minimum payment towards leave, or if you go for a certain amount of time because it's a percentage and you don't hit that cap, then you have a set amount of time that you'll pay it. If you don't have a job with a set amount of time, then you would defer that ISA. We go through all of those nitty-gritty details in our open house once you get into the program. So don't fret. But if you have any more specific questions, if that's, kind of part of you figuring out if you want to apply to our program, please email us and we'll be happy to talk you through that process. Especially for ISAs, that is something new. So we're happy to help you guys in that process. Somebody's asking how many students are in a typical cohort. Well, the good news is now that we're all online with because of COVID, we have been able to work with many more students that are not just located where our classrooms used to be. So I would say roughly we're looking at 50 to 60 students for our full-time program. That being said, the part-time's new. So I don't know, we might have more, we might have less. But for our full-time, we're roughly around 50 to 60 students a session.
And I like to add there that we don't try to teach 60 people at the same time. Yes. Because that's too many people for you to actually get your questions in. So we divide into usually groups around that 20 to 30 person amount for lecture. We find that's a good balance between having enough people that you get interesting questions and discussion without having so many that you can't get your questions in. So our anticipation is that the part-time program will be one group of about 20 to 30 people. But if we get 60 of you signed up for the part-time program, we will divide that and do it in two groups. Yes. So we're hoping for as many, and we have the flexibility to deploy teachers in a way to keep things at reasonable sizes. And as I pointed out with things like our Capstone meetings, so even in smaller groups, so you can get more direct experience, more direct contact with instructors and your peers that way.
Yes, thank you, Rob. I think that's a great thing to highlight. We had been doing this course in person, and we tried to make it a way that was collaborative and really fostered the same environment that we had physically in a classroom online for, again, everybody's safety. So part of that was, yes, we have more students, but we are breaking them down into smaller class sizes. And as Rob mentioned, even smaller capstone project groups. So and then, we also have Calendly invites that you can work with instructors one-on-one. You can work with our partnership team one-on-one. So really want to give you all the resources and access to all the help that you might need once you get into the program. We're running short on time. I think, Rob, this next question would be good for you to answer. How much time should one expect to spend weekly on the part-time program? We kind of mentioned it, but maybe go a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm expecting that the average student on the average week will spend roughly 10 hours outside of lectures and office hours and other meetings. This is going to vary week to week as the curriculum changes and as you're more or less familiar with the topics involved. But I would allot yourself at least that much time in your schedule. If you don't have that time, I don't think you're going to get as much out of the program. Did I mention this or not? But we are big on the learning by doing approach. This is why we have the mini projects. This is why we have the capstone. So you need to have that time to actually do. And that's what it's going to teach you, not me talking at you for an hour and a half.
Great. So just to reiterate, if you already applied and you want to mention this info session, just email us at admissions@thedataincubator.com and we will add that into your application so you have priority review. Yes, let me clarify. When I say $40,000, that is pertaining to the payment of an ISA. That is not the average salary of people that get hired from our program. So in general, the average salary of alumni that go through our program, we see anywhere between 80 to 130,000. That depends roughly on your geographic location. Obviously, New York and San Francisco are going to be a little bit higher than Indiana. I can pick on Indiana. I'm from Indiana, and stuff like that. The other thing to keep in mind is your experience. If you have some previous work experience, you're probably going to be a little bit more on the higher end of the salary than on the lower end. If you're coming straight from academia, you're probably going to be on that lower end. But roughly, on average, we see offers coming in anywhere between 80 to 130,000. And so, yes, 40,000 is extremely low for somebody graduating from our program. And that is, I would not expect that. I would expect between 80 and 130. Okay, great. I want to just recap a little bit what we talked about. Applications are open now for our spring session, which starts on April 5th for both full-time and part-time. And those close next Friday, February 12th. And so make sure you apply now. That'll give you plenty of time to complete the challenge. Once the challenge is completed, we'll do interviews. And then once that is done, you'll be accepted into the program. You'll find out, if you got accepted, and we'll move into the onboarding phase, and then you'll start the program in April. So that is kind of the rough overview of the process. If you have any other questions that we didn't get to, or maybe you didn't feel comfortable answering, or maybe that are more personal to your specific situation or application, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to answer it via email or schedule a call with you. Our email again is admissions@thedataincubator.com. Rob, do you have anything else that I missed? You're always good at catching things that I might have missed.
I think you got everything, Erica. I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out. I hope you're excited. We think this part-time program is going to be a great offering for people who can't devote that full-time attention to the program. We know there's many of you out there. We want to do something that works for you. And I think actually it's going to help you learn even more, having a little more time for this material to percolate into your brain. So I'm excited about that. And I hope you will join us in a couple months.
Yes, and I like leaving it on percolate. So thank you guys for joining us. Hope this was informative and hope to see your applications coming in. We'll see you guys soon.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.